The Hunter is the main hero in Midnight Suns, whether you're playing the light side or going full Palpatine dark side. Do it! They're going to be with you for the whole journey, so here are the best abilities for the Hunter. Let's go. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do these videos for all of the different heroes and which one you'd like me to do next. Now, we'll start with the abilities, that's the main stuff, and then we'll get into some of the more hero-specific things for the Hunter themselves. So, my Hunter is focused on the light side. Now, you will need to make a little bit of that choice between light and dark side. You don't necessarily have to, but it will affect some of the cards that are available to you, especially as you get up into the ranks. At rank 100 in either light or dark, you'll get access to like a special light card, like an ultimate card. For the light side, it is the Summon Charlie card, but for the dark side, I'm not actually sure as I haven't done it yet myself, but do let me know in the comments if you do know the answer to that question. So speaking of those cards, now for my decks, for all of my heroes, I roughly focus on having 2 quick cards, 2 damage dealing cards, 2 like support cards that are like utility kind of cards, and then 2 cards that cost heroism. So for the Hunter, those 2 cards that are quick cards are Holy Spark. Now I've chosen this over the initial like quick slash that you get, as it has much more utility in that you can either use it to damage enemies or cure, and cure will allow you to like heal any of the negative status effects on the target. It also has a much higher damage potential than the quick slash as well, so that's why I've personally chosen it, because realistically you're going to be using this to one-shot enemies, and if you can mod this card to get specific like on KO mods on it, it's really valuable to use for the extra damage you get as well as those on KO effects that you will get. For the just like general damage dealing cards, I have personally gone with Morning Star. Now Morning Star is a pretty basic attack, like it doesn't do heaps of damage, however it will snowball, so every time you use Morning Star it will increase the damage of the next Morning Star that you do use. You also gain 1 heroism every time you use it. Now it doesn't sound like a lot initially, like for instance mine does like 48 damage right now, and that's, you know, dependent on the level that you are, that damage number will change, but the more you use it in combat, and you will use it a lot because it is a free casting card, you can get that damage up to basically one-shot some of the, you know, higher health like elite type enemies, just if you're using this attack every time it comes up into your hand. Really worth doing and really valuable card to absolutely use. For my 2 support cards, I have 1 heal and fortify. Now heal is really any build for the Hunter, you really should have a heal card in there because it is so hard to actually heal in this game. There's only a few heroes that can do it, and Hunter is one of them, and Hunter will come with you on every mission, or more or less you should take Hunter on every mission, so you will want to have that card in your hand. And also the overheal, you get 2 cards drawn as well, is really valuable to have. I personally like fortify rather than any of the other support cards or even having a secondary heal, because Hunter does get attacked a lot in combat, and getting the ability to counter as well as extra block is really valuable to have. Counter doesn't sound, you know, that exciting, but when you have a lot of enemies that are going to focus Hunter, which does happen, being able to just get free damage off when they hit Hunter and then you just like attack them back is really valuable to have. For the 2 damage dealing attacks, I'm using Holy Burst as the first. Now this will do an AoE area of effect damage, and it will also heal any allies that are in that area, and I like this because I'm only using the 1 heal as well, so then I've got this to like a secondary like heal back up to use. Now the amount of damage this does isn't great, but because it is an AoE effect, you can like kill minions really quickly as well as deal a decent amount of damage to anything that's in like that small area. My big attack, or like the, you know, ultimate ability, I guess let's call it that, I like Bladestorm. Now Bladestorm is the Midnight Sun ability you get for doing the challenges. To unlock the challenges you have to do the research project at the Forge, and you'll be able to do the challenge immediately for the Hunter to unlock Bladestorm. These challenges are a little bit hard, but they're not too bad, so you should be fine to do that. Now you could go here like the Summon Charlie or Bladestorm, but I've tested with both and I find Bladestorm to be much more valuable. Summoning Charlie is good, Charlie is okay, but the thing with that is, you know, you're just adding a 4th hero to the battlefield that still requires you to use card plays and everything, and it doesn't feel as impactful as Bladestorm does. Now, Bladestorm doesn't do a huge amount of damage, but the forceful knockback on every enemy is actually huge, because you can one-shot a lot of enemies by making them hit into environmental effects or into other allies or enemies, into that kind of thing. So you can one-shot, you know, a huge amount of enemies in that like one area that you're hitting, as well as displacing them a lot, which is really valuable to use if you're trying to line up different kind of attacks and things. So Bladestorm is what I prefer, but Summon Charlie isn't too bad. You know, Charlie does have some okay attacks that you can use. If you do go Summon Charlie, make sure you are like petting him and praising him at the Abbey, because it will actually increase his level, which will improve his combat ability. So make sure you're doing that. Let's cover the passives for the Hunter. Now in the early game, Vengeance is probably the best. So Vengeance enemies who attack Hunter have a 25% chance to gain 1 marked. And what marked does is it will refund the card play cost on a KO if they are marked. So that will basically give you a free card play. So you can use some of those like big heavy hitting attacks to one-shot some enemies and get that card play back. So then you can, you know, continue casting. Kind of like Quick is exactly how it works, but you have to have marked onto those targets. As you get further into the game, you'll unlock some better stuff. Defender of the Light is what I basically use through most of my gameplay. Hunter's light attacks and heroic attacks have a greatly increased chance to be critical hits when drawn. So criticals obviously do more damage, so the more damage, and for the most part, because this is a light build and we're using a lot of light cards, it works out really well, especially with things like Morningstar. But once you have completed the game, you will get Master of the Hunt, which is actually pretty good. So it reduces the Hunter collar thresholds by 1, and the Hunter is also immune to all negative status effects, which is actually huge. There are so many negative status effects that get applied to you by so many of the enemies, and Hunter being immune to them is actually like legitly really good. For your collars, now there is a couple of collars. It's not as many collars as there is the other passives, but I personally like the Paragon collar. So the next Hunter light card is free, and when you play 5 light cards, you earn this in combat. So essentially this allows you to just cast any like light card for free, because we're using light cards a lot. Let's get into some tips for the Hunter themselves. Now if you're wondering if a card is light or dark or neither, and when you're looking at the card itself, at the very bottom there is a little symbol. If it is a light symbol, like a bright white symbol, it is a light card. If it's a darker symbol, then it is a dark card. There are some Hunter cards that are neither, and the Hunter is the only character that has these like light and dark cards, but if you're wondering what it is, that is how you tell. For the Hunter and for all of the different heroes, there are stats as well. So if you're looking at the Hunter screen on the right hand side, there is stats down the bottom like health and offense, critical chance and damage, fortitude, power, all those things. If you want to increase those stats, you need to do the hero request that they give you. So at the Abbey, heroes will give you different requests of things to do. It could be super simple as like literally changing your haircut, or something more complex. When you do those requests, sometimes they will give you stat bonuses that'll give you permanently increasing some of these stats. Those stats are actually really important, especially on the higher difficulties. They come into play much more, but it is worth noticing that, and as well as doing those hero requests so you can get those like passive stats increased. Your main stats like your health and offense will get increased by leveling up, and you should take the Hunter on basically every mission, even the general missions that you don't have to take the Hunter, because all the other heroes will level with him. So they will stay about like 4 levels below Hunter, and obviously the higher level the Hunter is, the higher level like your base will be for all of the heroes. So keeping Hunter with you at all times and maximizing like his, you know, XP gains will really help you push all of those other heroes. When you're trying to pick like a card ability mods, I often try and pick with something that is on theme for the card itself. Say for example, if I have a quick card that, you know, will refund the card play when I KO an enemy, I want to apply something on the mod that is on KO, I will gain something, right? It could be, you know, gain block or draw a card, something like that. You want to try and be on brand for that card play itself, or whatever you're kind of using it for, right? So I don't think there is any particular wrong answer in terms of these modifications, but don't be afraid to re-roll those effects to try and find something better if you are struggling. I often avoid any that are redraw, like, you know, if you redraw, you gain block or gain whatever, especially if they're on cards that I don't really redraw very often. I often try and avoid those and get something a little bit better, but for the most part, you will be able to find something worthwhile. And my last tip for you guys is to go watch my Marvel's Midnight Suns tips video. I will have a link to that right here. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is Norza, and I hope you have a great day.